chat with so much going on. So my name's Jessie Bossler. I serve as an assistant director in the Olin Undergraduate Programs Office. I have the lovely role of advising some of our students, working with some of our student organizations, coordinating some of our recruitment programs. And I'm glad today to be joined by Anna, who's one of our Olin peer ambassadors and is also one of my advisees. So I'm pretty particular to Anna, but if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Anna. I have Jessie. I get to see her all the time. It's amazing. She's wonderful. I hope you all get her. And as I said earlier, I'm from Montana. I'm from Bozeman, Montana, which is near Big Sky if there's any skiers out there. I'm class of 2023, which means I'll be a sophomore next year. And I'm interested in pursuing an organization and strategic management major within the business school. And I'm also considering a German major outside of the business school.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Anna. Anna will be giving all of her takes throughout so that you all can really hear about the student experience, which is much more exciting than anything I have to share. But really for today, the session is about you all. So as we share information, if questions come up, feel free to throw that in the chat. We'll do our best to make sure that we get to those. And then likely we'll have some time at the end for any questions that may come up as well. So to go ahead and jump in, obviously the purpose for today's session is to really share a little bit about what we think makes our community at the Olin Business School more unique. So a few themes that will come through as we're chatting that are at the core of our strategic initiative within the business school are listed here for you. So first and foremost, we are a values-based data-driven program. So we really do expect our students to have a strong foundation in their quantitative skills. We'll jump into what that actually looks like for the curriculum in a bit, but proficiency through Calculus 2 is what we set for our program. So we really want students to be able to work with those numbers in whatever capacity you might be working within the business realm, but to also know how to use that information. So how do you take the data that you've been given and make decisions that align with the values of the organizations you might be working with, as well as your own personal values along the way too. So it's a big thing that comes up in a lot of our curriculum, so a pretty big piece for us. We're also a global and experiential program. We'll jump into this, of course, too, but having some sort of global experience is a keystone for our program. Starting with next year's class, we actually will be changing our curriculum to have a global mindset requirement. So if you're interested in learning more about how business operates at more of a global scale, it's certainly something that you'll have the experience to do either through study abroad, but also something that, again, is woven into our curriculum. And then entrepreneurship and innovation is another big piece for us. So really encouraging our students, no matter what major you decide to pursue within business, to apply creative thinking outside the box to solve problems for businesses and organizations. So it's another piece that's pretty heavily woven within our curriculum and extracurriculars as well. So a few other pieces that maybe make Olin a little bit more of a unique community to be a part of. So first and foremost, we are a day one business school. So our students do start within the business program right away in that fall semester of your first year. Students take 2 intro business courses that semester that we'll talk a bit more in depth later on, but we'll start you there right away. So when you, if you do make the decision to apply to WashU, you would apply to that specific division you're most interested in studying in. So if it is business, you would apply directly to Olin, get admitted, and then start right away into your curriculum. I mentioned already about the global piece. So we do operate several study abroad programs out of our undergraduate programs office. What this means is it does make it seamless for a student to do a study abroad experience and still make the typical progress towards degree completion. So we'll jump into some of those specifics as well. Another big piece just to highlight is that we are a business school situated within a liberal arts institution. So as Anna already alluded to, You do have to take quite a few of your credits outside of business. So if you are interested in combining your studies outside of business elsewhere, so maybe it's a minor or a second major, whether that be in computer science or something in arts and sciences, it's certainly doable based on how our curriculum is set up to make that happen. I'm sure Anna would be happy to go into some of those details later on if you have questions about it. Anna, I might turn it over to you if you just want to share a little bit about why you decided to study at Olin.
Yeah, totally. So it's actually one of the little tabs here on the bottom of our screen is the collaboration. I'm big into working with people. I don't really, like anytime that the project is assigned, even in high school, I was always looking for people to like study with or to collaborate with. And that's just really important to me in general. And I think it's really important to the business world. I was very impressed by Olin's approach to this. And like the slide says, like from semester one, from day one, you're assigned teams. And it just really teaches you that other people have things that you don't, and you have things that other people don't. And so you can value yourself and other people through teamwork. And I just think that that's really awesome. And I love that Olin promoted that so well. So that was a big reason that I picked Olin. And then, of course, the renowned faculty and just like the name of the school. Olin is a great business school, and people know about it. And I think that that's a big pull for a lot of students, including me. And then finally, the location of St. Louis was really intriguing to me because I live in the mountains. It's very outdoorsy culture here, which I love. Is a big part of who I am. But I wanted to try something different. And let me tell you, I think St. Louis is a little bit different than that. But it's great. There's all kinds of arts and culture. Forest Park is right there, so I still get my outdoors time. But it's just really nice to experience something so different and really get out of my comfort zone. So that was another reason.
Great. Thanks so much, Anna. And yeah, I think to echo on that point too, I mean, our students do come from all over the U.S. and all over the world, which is typical of the collegiate experience. So it really is a fun time to meet new people, explore new ideas, all of those important things. So perfect segue to that collaboration piece. Again, this is, I think, a big part of our culture that you'll hear students talk about a lot. We are a smaller community, so we have just around 800 undergraduate students throughout all 4 years studying business. So we are pretty small. Usually our incoming class is going to be somewhere, around 170 students, give or take. So you really do have the opportunity to get to know your peers on a pretty deep level, as well as our faculty on a pretty deep level as well. So we'll talk about some of the ways students do engage with our faculty in case that's an important piece for you. But that collaboration is a big component, as Anna already mentioned. It also comes through with our alumni and with employers too. So we're very fortunate at Olin to have a really engaged alumni base that are eager to give back to the school and also to help our students that are kind of figuring out the path they want to go down. So we have a variety of mentoring programs that students can apply to get some really one-on-one interaction with alumni in a variety of industries. Not to mention just the variety of guest speakers that come back to our classes or do events around campus. So really great to have such an engaged alumni base. And then we'll talk a bit too about employers that do recruit on campus. But again, they're super eager to get to know our students and to recruit our students, talk about their companies. So super fortunate to have all of that available within our community. So let's go ahead and jump into this Management 100 and 150 piece. As I mentioned before, these are the two classes that you'll take your very first semester. Management 100 is more of an intro strategy and economics course, and Management 150 is foundations of business. So in both courses, they're pretty unique. In 150, it's really an opportunity for students to hear from our lead faculty from each of our main business areas, to help you explore what you might want to study within business. But students are working on group projects in both of those courses. Anna, do you want to share a little bit about either class, if there's anything in particular that you want to highlight?
Yeah, sure, of course. It's from day one, you're right into business, which was really kind of a shock for me. I hadn't really taken many business classes before. I was part of DECA in high school. I don't know if any of you guys are part of that. So that was kind of my only business experience. And it was really nice to just be hands-on right away. And then again, everyone talks about case comp and the teams you work with. And so from day one, you're with your team of 4 or 5 people. And that's really a journey in itself. I think that that was my favorite part because at the beginning we all we were all very individualistic and we came from very different like geographical locations, but also just like different cultures. And we didn't really like see eye to eye or really appreciate each other. And it was kind of rough. Like Jessie can vouch for this because I came to her office many times like, oh man, what am I going to do about this team? But as we started to realize like, okay, we're going to be with each other the whole semester, we may as well make the best out of this. And we really just started to grow as students and as a team. And we started to listen to each other. We found roles that really worked for us. I'm really good at planning and organizing. Freaking love that stuff. So I was like, okay, we're going to get this done on this day. Maybe Roberto, you can work on this because you're really good at this. And so that kind of like delegation worked really well for us. And along right with that is communication. So just like expectations of what do we expect you to do? How do we expect you to act? And what do we expect to accomplish as a team? And the class does a great job, both 150 and 100 do a great job of providing spaces for the students to have those kinds of conversations. So in surveys and maybe your assignment is just to say, okay, what are our team roles? What are the expectations for our team? And I think that's so important. And it seems like cliche, like, why do we have to do this? But it pays off. And it pays off in the long run because then you can refer back to it and say, okay, this is my job. I will get this done for you. And I think that the role of communication can't be overstated, especially in the business world. And so I love that we get like hands-on experience with that from day one. And then from that, our team developed some trust and some appreciation. And by the end of it, we did like a secret Santa thing. We were hanging out all the time, even when we didn't have to. And so I think that really just goes to show that if you take advantage of the skills and the opportunities that the classes provide you, that you're really going to make meaningful connections and also just grow as a student. So push through them. They're tough if you haven't taken any business classes before, but everyone is there to support you. And also bunches of other students haven't taken business classes before. So don't let the business from day one deter you because there's a huge support network and growth happens so fast and it's so exciting.
Thanks, Anna. That was super thorough and super helpful to share a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, it is going to be something that's part of our program throughout is that teamwork experience. We're very big on that within Olin. But really that first semester, there's so much that is set up and designed to help our students kind of work through the team experience. I'm having trouble getting my chat to pull up. And are you able to see the question that was submitted by chance?
Yes, Kayla said, hi. I'm wondering to what extent do the different schools overlap socially and academically? Do you have a slide on that later or should we talk about that now?
Let's jump into it. We'll talk a little bit about student organizations, but if you want to share about your experience, Anna.
Okay, yeah. So there's a huge amount of overlap. I think non-business students can take business classes. They can transfer into the business school. And I would say like 80% of my friends are actually outside of the business school just because it's a bigger pool of students out there, just because there's a lot more out there. And so I really think that, sometimes we're like, oh, you're a B school kid. Like there's definitely, you still hold that reputation of being a business school student. You still go to all the luncheons. Your friends are still jealous of all the free food you get. Like there's still definitely that, but it's not, it's not sectored in a way that it's like, oh, you only have business friends and you only talk to those people and you only go to those classes. It's there's a huge amount of overlap, and I think in general it's a WashU community, not necessarily just an Olin community, though you can find that smaller cohort experience if you're looking for it. I hope that that's a good answer. The answer is that yes, there's a lot of overlap and you can find as much as you want.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with all of that. Whether it's through student organization involvement that you're interacting with students in a variety of different schools across WashU. As Anna already mentioned, she's studying German, so meeting students outside of the business school that way. So I think there's lots of opportunity to have those interactions. I think, the way that each school operates is very siloed, and that's just on the administrative side. But when it comes to the student experience, it's a very fluid experience. Great. These are good questions. All right. So to jump in a little bit more to the curriculum and the actual areas of study that are open to you, what you see here, the pretty typical majors that are offered at a business school. Couple of options, though, that might be a little bit more unique to Olin is we do have a specific major in entrepreneurship. I see students pair this either as their primary area of study or potentially as a second major within business as well. So even if you're a marketing student or a finance student, majoring in entrepreneurship can really add some value there because it is encouraging you to think outside the box and be creative in your roles. We do also offer a variety of more interdisciplinary minors within Olin. So if you do want to jump a little bit more into a specific sector or just a specific topic area such as business and social impact, those are certainly opportunities available to you. And then we do have a couple of unique programs that we pair with McKelvey School of Engineering. So we do offer a second major in financial engineering. This is especially popular for our students who want to do more of the behind the scenes aspect of the finance industry. And then we also have a still fairly new program that's a joint program between business and computer science. I do advise this program, so if you have specific questions about it, be happy to answer those, or you can always email me as well. But the joint program is really a true combined study between business and computer science. You would actually apply to it specifically if you decided you wanted to be a part of this program. So again, if you have questions, just let me know and I'd be happy to talk in more detail about it. But as we already have alluded to several times, most of our students will do more than just one major as part of their study at WashU. So students might decide to do a couple majors within business, but a good chunk of our students, over half, actually do some sort of area of study outside of business as well. So to maybe jump into that a little bit more for you of how that all kind of fits together. So this is a general overview of our curriculum. So you do have to complete 48 units outside of business. This is considered part of your general education. So this will include your college writing requirement, the proficiency through Calculus 2, and then we have specific categories that you need to fulfill as part of your general education. But because you have 40% of your curriculum outside of business, this is a really good way to make any credits you're doing towards a second major minor that's non-business work towards your curriculum. And then our business requirements are going to be at least 60 units within business. So you need 120 to graduate, so half of those do need to be within business. 42 of those will be part of your core. So no matter what major you decide to study, you will take intro courses in finance and supply chain and marketing. You'll take several business statistics courses. So really helping you, again, to explore those opportunities, but also just to make sure you have that basic understanding of how businesses and organizations operate. And then your professional electives are where your major requirements really come into play. Most of our majors are going to be 12 to 15 units. So those would bill as professional electives. But because you need 18, again, if you wanted to do a minor within business or if you wanted to do a second major, this is how it makes it pretty easy to fit all of that in with only taking a couple of additional courses along the way. And then your general electives are really just those floating credits to help you get to your 120 to graduate. If you do have any AP or IB credit that you're taking through high school, some of those credits can potentially apply here. Otherwise, it's just an opportunity for you to take some additional courses, especially if you're looking to do a second major or minor. Anna, do you want to talk at all about your experience of pairing studies outside of business, what that's been like for you, what your typical course load looks like, that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. I just say, like, generally it's super easy. There's a lot of, when we're talking about distribution requirements, there's a lot of classes out there. I've mostly found in art sci, but I have a bunch of friends in like the Sam Fox School of Art and Design that fill distribution requirements that are still super interesting. So last semester I took a class on, it was called The Supernatural in Chinese Literature. And it was so interesting. Like, I told Jesse all about it. I was really stoked. But I had never studied the Chinese culture before at all. I've never been there. I hardly knew anything. But we came in, and I love like horror movies and ghost stories and everything. And so I got to like combine both of those, and it counted for an international studies requirement. So there are lots of opportunities to try new things, stuff you never would have learned otherwise, that still definitely count towards your major. And then, like I said, I'm really passionate about learning German. I've been studying it for a long time, all through high school, started in middle school. And I just really want to continue it and become super proficient. And so there is space for me to do that. As soon as I get up into the 300 and 400 level electives, that's great for business, and it counts towards, so sometimes it can double count towards my German major, and then towards higher level electives for business school. So I'd really say, like, whatever you're interested in, you can find a way to fit it in. A great way that I've done it is look for those distribution requirement like sections. So there's some in ethics. So this semester I'm taking a class on environmental ethics. As you guys know, I'm outdoorsy, so I love the environment. So I can get that ethics check through the business school while also learning about something that I'm passionate about. So really there's so much room for creativity in your schedule while still fulfilling the check marks that you need.
Awesome. Thanks, Anna. And Kayla, I think that's another point to your question too. So the typical first semester, you take those 2 business courses, potentially college writing, potentially math, depending on your placement. But otherwise, students are filling their schedule with general education courses. So another opportunity to meet other students outside of business right away in that first semester. All right. So to jump a little bit more into this experiential and entrepreneurial piece, a variety of ways that this plays out within our program. So first and foremost in your courses for sure, we already talked a little bit about Management 100 and 150. The final project that students are working on in Management 150 is a business plan for a product that the team came up with. So really forcing you to work through each of those different business components and to be creative and come up with a new idea. And then in the fall semester, sophomore year, students take Management 201, which is our business communication course. In that class, students are working with local clients to help them through their communication plan within their business or organization. So this leads into courses a variety of different ways. In the intro microeconomics course, typically students are doing a case competition for that class, where you're working with a consulting project or with a consulting company. So a variety of ways that the very experiential pieces come into play. We do also have a center on experiential learning within the business school. So for students who really are interested in consulting, our entrepreneurship major, these are part of the requirements for that. You can take a variety of courses through the CEL to get actual business credit. But the different programs are going to set you up in a team where you're working with a specific company or organization to help them through whatever problems they may be experiencing. So Taylor is our project specifically geared towards local organizations, especially in the North St. Louis corridor, where Ferguson and Florissant are located. If you've heard those communities be mentioned before, the Small Business Initiative works specifically with smaller businesses. So a variety of ways to get some really hands-on experience, which students enjoy. And then outside of the business school, a variety of ways to do this as well. So the Scandalaris Center is our interdisciplinary center on campus for entrepreneurship. So if this is a realm that you really want to get some experience in or explore a little bit more, they have a variety of programs that you can plug into. You maybe have heard of our STEP program before, where students can actually own and run a business on campus. Some very hands-on again. And then the honors and management there is going to be our program where students are working with faculty on research. So students would be in the honors and management program their senior year, where you're taking a course in the fall with a variety of faculty to learn about how to conduct research. And then during the spring semester, students are actually working on their own research projects that they proposed in the fall. So variety of ways to jump in and get some real practical experience. Either you'll have to as part of your classes, or there's going to be these other opportunities that you can plug into as well. And then related to faculty, as Anna already mentioned, we have a really great group of faculty within Olin. We're going to be very immersed in the research scene. That's part of their requirement as faculty, so they're really coming up with some new creative ideas that they're researching and sharing within their classrooms. Also, students just really have a nice opportunity to form relationships with our faculty. So because we do, most of our classes are going to be 50 students or fewer. Faculty really get to know our students. Usually participation is a big part of the classroom. So you can really form those relationships as a good way to network within certain industries or to get involved in research if you're interested in doing that. So very fortunate to have such an engaged group of faculty. Anna, is there anything you want to share about your experience working with our faculty?
Yes, I'd love that. First of all, I think all of them are super dedicated to Olin and its students. Like you won't find one out there that's disengaged or uninterested. It's just not possible. But one that sticks out for me, her name is Samira Faisal, and she actually teaches the first stats class. It's managerial statistics. And so I hadn't taken stats in high school. I focused on calc, so I'd never done stats before. And I felt a little bit behind because a lot of my peers had already taken stats at least once. So they had kind of the basics down. And so I was kind of struggling, and I was like, I'd come up to her every day after class and be like, what did you mean here? And then eventually I just started like showing up at her office. She'd tell me, she'd like, Anna, we don't have enough time to talk about this now. You need to come to my office hours. Like, okay, Samira, fine. And so I would go and see her weekly at least. It was amazing. And she's just so dedicated and enthusiastic. Like no one really, at least in my small circle of friends, people don't go like, oh yes, stats. Like no one's like super excited about it, but her enthusiasm for stats and where it could take you was just absolutely contagious. It was amazing. And she was invested in how her students thought about stats and how they did in the class. And it was just very obvious. And she made time for her students. Obviously, she had time for me every week. And so not only did she help me pass the class with an A, might I add, but she also, we started to form our own relationship, and we'd share like restaurant recommendations with each other and check in on each other about what we did over the weekend. And she just like, it was amazing just to see her every week. So I highly recommend going up to your professors, asking how they're doing, ask about questions that you don't like, questions about their lecture and content, but also ask about them as people, because they have lives too and they'd love to share it. And it's so fulfilling for me to have those kinds of relationships, and I know it will be for you guys too. And then the second person I would mention is Jessie. From day one, my advisor made me feel welcomed and wanted. And I think advisors are in a really unique role to understand Olin as a whole, but also from like somewhat removed perspective. So they're not a faculty, they're not doing research every day, they're there for you. And they see it more holistically than maybe a faculty person, a staff, a professor who's working on statistics, say, every day. So Jessie had a great holistic view. She counseled me through many sessions of like, you're going to get through this teamwork. I know you will. But she also ensured that I had a perspective that was unique and valuable. And so I really just encourage all of you, if you come to Olin, to to engage with your advisor, get to know them, have them get to know you, and really just trust them because most of the time they are right.
Well, thanks, Anna. I promise I didn't coach her to say
no, she did not. She did not.
We are, I mean, it is a super rewarding part of our job, but we do have this motto at WashU to know our students by name and story. We do have advising members within Olin, which does make it really easy to get to know our students. But Anna also made it really easy. She's super easy to talk to, wants to get to know you as a person. So you do have lots of support within the university and with Olin itself. So yeah, it's a good community to be a part of. All right. So to continue on and jump into a little bit more of the study abroad opportunities we have available, as I mentioned, we operate our global experiences outside of or within our undergraduate programs office. So when you are signing up to go on a business study abroad program, you are studying at a business school somewhere else around the world. So it is an expectation that you're making the standard progress towards degree completion. There's 3 main types of programs that we offer within Olin. So the first long list are your typical study abroad programs where you would apply to go to one of these specific locations at a specific institution we have a partnership with, and you take your courses. You hopefully travel a lot while you're there, get that full study abroad experience. We also have a variety of short-term programs which are mostly going to be offered in the summer session. So these will be a little bit more prescriptive in nature. Typically, you're taking 1 or 2 classes as a part of this experience that will still transfer back. But they'll focus on a variety of different things. So the entrepreneurship and startups in the EU program, students are traveling both to Madrid and Sarajevo to do a compare and contrast experience on their different cultures and economies. ISBA is going to be our program focused on startups within Tel Aviv and Israel, which is a super booming place for startups. So variety of experiences you can get. These are typically going to be 2 to 6 week programs that we offer. And then internship programs are another unique opportunity where if you want to get maybe a little bit more of a professional experience as part of your study abroad, this might be a good fit for you. So students would go to one of these locations, take some courses, but the majority of your study abroad experience will be working at a specific organization in that location. And you are getting some credit for that as well. Because these are more professional, though, it doesn't allow for as much travel time as a student likes to get through their study abroad experience. So once you get to that stage in your curriculum, we would have some really in-depth conversations with you about what your goals are, what you're looking to get out of your experience. So hang tight for that to come your way. But I will mention that a lot of our students will take advantage of a couple of different study abroad programs if they want to. So those short-term programs are really popular in your first summer of study. Typically students aren't doing internships that early, so fitting in a study abroad experience is a really good opportunity. And then the most common time our students study abroad is during spring semester of their junior year. So that's typically when students are either doing the internship programs or looking to do one of our just traditional study abroad experiences. But as I mentioned before, starting with our class of 2025, so next year's entering class, we will have a new global mindset requirement. A key way to get this fulfilled is by doing a study abroad experience, but there will also be other opportunities. Study abroad doesn't necessarily work out for everyone for a variety of reasons, so there'll be other ways that you could fulfill this along the way. All right. So as far as getting involved on campus, I'm sure as you've done some research on WashU, you've discovered that there's a lot of student organizations across campus. These would just be a few to highlight that are more business specific. So we do have a variety of professional fraternities that operate out of our student affairs office, a few organizations focused on Olin affairs. We have cultural groups within business. and then also groups that are more focused on a specific industry. So variety of ways to get involved. You certainly as a business student don't only need to get involved in business organizations. Certainly would encourage you to get involved in a variety of things that you're passionate about. But involvement and eventually working your way into a leadership position is always a good thing to work towards, just to have a little bit of extra meat to add to your resume and talk about some of the experiences that you've had. Anna, is there anything you want to share about your involvement on campus?
Yeah, sure. So my first semester, I got involved with Gateway to the Great Outdoors, which is actually just a general WashU club. And the goal there is to go into middle and high school classrooms and teach students about the environment and sustainability and how it impacts them every day, and kind of build some competencies for like outdoor recreation. And then we get to take these students at the end of the semester on camping trips. And it is so much fun and so fulfilling just to share my love for the outdoors with those students. So a little bit less like academically rigorous, not super stressful. The kids are great. I mean, they all have their days, right? Middle school kids can sometimes be tough, but that's okay. But it was just really, really fulfilling. And so there's plenty of clubs like that, like super fun clubs. I was part of the intramural badminton team, which was super fun. I was definitely the worst person there. People are really good at WashU. I was on an intramural volleyball team, couldn't make a lot of those, but it was still super fun. So there's like low-key stuff you can do like that. And right now I am the co-chair for the Marketing and Assessment Committee on the board of directors of the LEAD project, which is a new club right now on campus that is focusing on bringing the leaders around campus together. And so we offer a consultation service for like leadership training or just questions about leadership. We offer different like workshops, obviously going to be virtual this year. And then we're going to do some kind of event series, also virtual, to kind of unite WashU as a community of leaders and just build those leadership competencies throughout the campus. And I'm really passionate about leadership. I think, like I've talked about with communication and teamwork, I think leaders can be, you know, like the president is a leader, obviously, but I think you can also have a leader that's more quiet, more in the background. I don't really like to be the one up there giving the presentation. And so I've learned how to lead maybe as a team member or behind the scenes. And I think that's a really powerful message as well. And I think WashU promotes that. And so I found different ways to do that. And another way that I've tied both social justice and nonprofit, that's my interest in management, would be nonprofit, that I've tied that with leadership, is the Socially Just Leadership Institute, which is so incredible. And so that was a series of leadership trainings that ended with a trip to Chicago. And we squeaked in right before they shut everything down last spring. And so we got to go to Chicago, and the focus of that specific year was on educational justice. And so we got to speak with a bunch of different leaders around Chicago. We got to speak with the teachers union and just really discuss these topics about like, okay, well, is it policy or grassroots foundation that's really going to move this forward, and who has what roles and what are the inequities that we're talking about? And so no matter what club you're involved with, there's going to be some kind of interaction with the community, which I absolutely love about WashU. And so if you're interested in something, there's a gardening club that I'm like semi a part of. One of my friends is part of a butter churning club. I don't know if she ever goes, but she has a cool shirt. So like literally anything you're interested in, WashU has it, which is really exciting.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that, Anna. And even if there's an interest you have and WashU doesn't have it, then you start a new club. So opportunity to do that and a lot to learn, I think, through that experience as well. Right. So to touch on the career development piece, which is another, I think, big piece for us here at Olin, we do have a specific career center called the Weston Career Center dedicated just to our business students. So our campus has a main career center, but then we also have Weston within Olin. So just as students would be assigned a 4-year advisor when they start at Olin, you're also assigned a 4-year career coach. So this is someone getting to know you, what your interests are, what your goals are, and to really help you through that career development journey. So early on, it might be having conversations about what are your interests, what does that mean for a major, how can you explore those interests. And then down the road, they're certainly working with our students heavily on internship recruitment, full-time job recruitment, doing negotiations. So it's a super handy resource available to our students that I know they really value having. But aside from the career coaches, behind the scenes within Weston is also our employer relations team. So they're the ones going out, forming relationships with different companies and organizations, making sure that those companies are aware of WashU and Olin and coming to campus or virtually this year coming up, recruiting our students, sharing more about their companies, doing info sessions, that sort of thing. So they're a really well-oiled machine at Weston that we really value having a part of our community that are certainly there to help our students. Anna, anything you want to add about your experience with Weston?
I haven't had a lot of interactions just being a first year so far, but so far my career counselor has been great. She's helped me with my resume. She's always available if I have questions. There's a few info sessions that I wanted to go to but couldn't make, and she sent me the link. So they make themselves so available for you, which I really appreciate. And we just have a quick question. Jesse, AJ asked, how easy is it to start a new club on campus? I don't know the exact hoops you have to jump through, but there are a lot of clubs out there. I think so it can be too hard. You have to have some kind of advisor. Is that right, Jesse?
Correct, yeah. So if you have an idea that you want to form a club around, typically the way to get that started is to rally some other students. So to make sure that you have at least an executive board and hopefully some other interest across campus in it. Finding an advisor is also a key part too. For the most part, our advisors for student organizations are pretty hands-off. They're there as a resource, but they're not there to do any of the work or, tell you what to do. It's really supposed to be a student-run thing. Once you have some of those first pieces put together, students can apply to have SU recognition. SU is our student union on campus, so they are the ones that would ask for you to have like a constitution for your club to make sure that you have some of those pieces put together. And once you get recognized, then it opens up those opportunities to get funding, to promote your events, to get more members. As far as the business-specific clubs that operate out of our office, if you are looking to form a very business-specific organization, then you can also seek Olin recognition, which is a pretty easy process. We just want to know a little bit more about what your club is, what your purpose is, and to make sure it's sustainable and that there's a need in our community. And to make sure it's not just overlapping with something that already exists too. So certainly a few steps, but it's pretty easy to get the ball rolling. Awesome. Great. The other thing I might plug about career development too is if you also have an interest in environment or working in nonprofits, I'd encourage you to ask Anna about her internship she had this summer. It was pretty fantastic. So don't hesitate to reach out to her if you have some shared interest there.
Yeah, or any other questions. I'm here for you guys.
Thanks, Anna. Great. Well, that's the main stuff we really wanted to make sure to share with you all today, just to highlight a little bit more about our community at Olin. If you do want to learn more, my contact information is listed there. We do have a main email address for Olin Peer Ambassadors if you wanted to get some more of the student perspective. Thank you, Anna, for sharing your email in the chat as well. And then I might just make a quick plug for a few of our pre-collegiate programs that we offer. So two that we offer in the summer session. Bold at Olin is going to be for students who identify as women who are rising juniors and seniors in high school that want to learn a little bit more about business. Olin Fleischer Scholars Program is a summer program that we offer for students who identify as low-income, first-generation, or students of color that also want to learn a little bit more about business in this college application process. And then we typically in the fall semester offer a weekend visit program also for students who identify as women to learn more about business. It's not going to look the same this fall, but if you have any questions about the programs, feel free to email me and I can get you in touch with the appropriate people who coordinate those. Otherwise, if you all have any other final questions that we didn't get to, feel free to unmute yourself, throw anything in the chat. But I might just leave it at, as you all are beginning this process, it really is important to find that community that's the right fit for you. Hopefully if Olin seems to be that fit, we'll continue to hear from you, but wish you all the best as you continue to explore your opportunities, and just let us know if we can ever be of help.
Thanks for coming today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I just have a question. How easy is it to switch majors between, within Olin?
Oh gosh, within Olin, super easy.
Okay, yeah, and within other schools as well?
Sure, yeah. So within other schools, that would be considered an internal transfer. So each school will have specific requirements that you need to meet to be eligible to apply as an internal transfer. Typically if you're meeting those requirements, it's pretty easy to do, but it's not necessarily a guarantee. Is there anything more specific of a question you had regarding that?
Yeah, so I know, my brother attended WashU, and he originally wasn't in Olin, but then he switched then to sophomore year. But and that was pretty easy for him. But if you're in a specific program, I know maybe the computer science and business program, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. How easy is it to switch out of that or into that? Is that do you have to be in that from day one and it's difficult to switch out?
Sure. Yeah, good question. So with the joint program, there also are specific requirements that you would need to meet. Based on those requirements, if you didn't start in the program your first year, it would make it really hard to transfer in your first year. But by sophomore year, students are typically eligible. That program is very cohort based, so we do try to protect that experience as part of it, but there absolutely is opportunity to apply to transfer in. The best I can tell you too is whatever program you feel most interested in, whether it be business or the joint program or something in arts and sciences, we would always encourage you to apply there. And then, if interests change along the way, either pursuing an internal transfer or even considering doing a combination of majors is certainly an opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Jesse, we have another question in the chat.
Sure.
Do you know what % of Olin is international students?
Ooh, I don't know off the top of my head. Gosh, I don't even know what the percentage is for the university as a whole. I want to say, hopefully I'm not too far off base here, it is under 10% of our undergraduate student population that is an international student. Our graduate program is going to be much more, a much higher percentage of international students. So.
And then another question is, will spaces be limited for fall 2020 entry because students deferred or because of COVID?
Also a fantastic question. I would encourage you to check in with admissions on that question. I'm not fully aware of what that might look like moving forward. So yeah, hopefully your admissions counselor assigned to your region or area could answer that better. Thanks for reading, Lizana.
Mm-hmm.
Any other?
Hi.
Yeah.
I have a question. Hi, I'm Harvin from Seattle. I had a question about the joint program between computer science and business. I know that part of the classes are held in the engineering school as opposed to the Olin School. How much of that program discusses, I guess, the intersectionality between them, how computer science relates to business specifically?
Yeah, great question. So to give you maybe a little bit more context on the program, so I think you can really break the program into halves. So half of the program is going to be your foundational courses, your general education classes. So students in that program actually need to be proficient through matrix algebra. There's a variety of just foundational business courses that students need to take. And then the second half of your program is going to be that business and computer science study. So you need at least 30 credits within business, and students can select either a strategy and leadership focus or a business analytics focus. And then you need 30 credits within computer science. They have 3 courses that you're required to take and then leave the rest of it up to you. So you have a lot more opportunity to explore and pair that way. So, as far as the classes go, most of the courses you'll be taking are just going to be the standard offering. So it won't necessarily be built into the specific courses you're taking. But another big part of the joint program are the co-curricular experiences that we offer. So we do a variety of different panels where students can talk with folks out in industry that are really working at the intersection of business and computer science to get a better idea of what that looks like. This spring, we were supposed to do a trek out to Silicon Valley to do some company tours. Obviously, that got delayed. But hopefully will be brought back to the program as well. So I would say more of the co-curricular is where you will have some of those experiences where you're really diving into that intersection between the 2 areas. Does that help, Harvin?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure. Any other questions anyone has?
I guess I have one more question. Another question I had was, I know there's like different concentrations within Olin, such as like strategy, finance, accounting, etc. When do, sorry if I missed this, I might have had unstable internet, but when do we need to like, I guess like decide on a specific concentration that we'd want to pursue at the Olin School?
Yeah. Anna, do you want to take this one or do you want me to?
You go ahead. I made the decision earlier because I'm interested in nonprofit, which is it's not a very common path. So I was like, okay, the best one that relates for me to nonprofit would be management. And then I just had to decide between the managements. But I think it's kind of students decide along their freshman year and some into sophomore. But go ahead, Jessie.
Yeah. The official deadline to pick a major is going to be February of your sophomore year. So you have plenty of time to explore. Even when students make a decision and declare something, then there's certainly opportunity to change it later on. So just because you pick something doesn't mean you have to stick with it. If you were changing like during your senior year, we might have to have a conversation about being able to keep your degree still, but otherwise certainly still plenty of opportunity to change things around.
Thank you so much for your answer. Just like a slight follow-up, I know I've been taking a look at like the WashU supplemental essays, and there's like a section that asks about like why like business or like the major area. Do you think they're kind of looking for us to have a good grasp on like picking a concentration to Olin before even coming there? Or do you think it's like a perfectly acceptable to like still be questioning whether you're going into marketing or operations or et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'd encourage you to also ask admissions that question too. But I don't get the impression you have to identify specifics at that point. I think more so probably what they're looking for there is why business. So not necessarily why marketing or why finance, just more generally why business is the area that you want to study.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. These are good questions. I think we have time for one more if anyone wants to pop in.
I have another question if nobody else wants to ask one. What would you say that like the Olin School is a good pathway to like besides for like an MBA later to like perhaps like law school or to any other like graduate schools?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I think definitely students, especially if they're looking at law school, what you study for undergraduate doesn't make a huge difference. I think, really being able to get into the weeds of problem solving and logic will be important. So maybe think about doing like some philosophy courses along the way would be helpful. And then I'm pretty sure Arts and Sciences has some pre-law advisors that you could get in touch with just to make sure there's no gaps that you're missing along the way too. But yeah, I think not many limitations I can think of. Obviously, if you wanted to go into medicine, you need very specific training for that. And there might be some other examples out there, like in engineering. If you wanted to go that way, you would need some really specific undergraduate experience. But law school definitely is so interdisciplinary that I think you can make that work. I have a few students looking to do that within business.
Thank you.
Sure. Awesome. Well, if you did have any other questions, feel free to email those my way. It's usually the quickest way to get a response from me. Otherwise, thank you all again for joining us today, and thanks, Anna, for being here as well.